Okay, if we can restart our meeting. Everyone come to order, please. Before we continue, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Commissioner Gordon of Claremont. Ed Reese is here, and our council member, Corey Kalaikai, as well.
Commissioner Liano.
And Commissioner Liano, there he is, Commissioner Liano, sorry, in the corner, sorry,
Services.
my friend Jed.
And school board, Citrus College board member.
Citrus College Board is Suki. Anyone else that I'm not familiar with?
And the chair of our planning commission.
The chair of the planning commission, welcome sir. Thank you.
Rick Rosenblum.
Rick Rosen, the chairman of our planning. Rosenblum?
Yes.
Rosenbluth, I'm sorry. I'll meet you after. So as you can see, I'm new to this, so I don't know everybody who comes.
Water board representative.
Water board representative, our treasurer, Brian Boca. As you've heard in our Colin, Assistant City Manager, Colin Tudor or Tudor? How do you like to? Tudor's fine. Okay. As many of you have read in our past newsletter in January, I come from an emergency response background. I'm a member of the Office of Emergency Services in San Bernardino County through the San Bernardino Fire Department. I'm a longtime member of Community Emergency Response Teams, or CERT. Claremont has its own. And I encourage, as a message to everyone, our whole community, that you get involved in community response, at least in preparing for emergencies, because as you all know, yesterday we had a shooting in Parkland, Florida, and as a result we lost some members tonight who are actually at a vigil tonight in honor of that. And so in community with them, I would like to take a moment of silence to remember all those who lost their lives and all those family members who are grieving at this moment. Okay. I'm sorry, I had to start out on a somber note, and hopefully it will get a lot better as we go along. But at this moment, I would like to bring our new city manager to introduce herself. She has very good experience, and we are excited to meet her, the Honorable Tara Schultz.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And just to kind of go off of what you had said, I have done a number of emergencies that I've covered, and getting that experience and getting that knowledge is really important. There are avenues to get that CERT training and things like that, and I strongly encourage people to do that, because when you're in that situation, just being able to fall back on those skills it's really important, because you never know what you're going to be dealing with. And so, my first ever experience was the wildfires above Sierra Madre, and I was pretty fresh to this whole local government process, and that was definitely an eye-opener, but a great learning experience, and we were very fortunate in Sierra Madre not to lose any structures, so that was a big deal for us. I did start in Sierra Madre. It's I consider it my learning ground. I say that they raised me, because they did. I fell into this career totally by accident, because I needed an internship in order to graduate, and my sister-in-law suggested that I contact Sierra Madre. That's where she grew up, and so I called them up, and Sierra Madre, like Claremont, they will take any volunteer. They don't care who you are. So they welcomed me right in and put me to work, and eventually gave me a job. And because it's a small town like Claremont, you get to do a lot of different things. I got a lot of different experience there. I met a lot of really amazing people. I hold that community near and dear to my heart. And, I sent my kids to school there, so it's a special place for me. And I also got to work with some really great city managers there. My friend and mentor, Sean Joyce, was just retired from the city of Irvine, and I owed him everything. He taught me a lot. I was in Sierra Madre for 6 years. I started with the senior commission, and then I did cultural heritage, and I did their transportation program, and I ran all of their human resource programs. So I really got to do a lot. And then I was kind of the staff person for the city council and the city manager. So it was a lot of fun. They have a lot of community events like Claremont does, and I really had fun working with those groups and helping them get those things done. And after Sierra Madre, I went to Alhambra. I went there as an assistant too, and over my 18 and a half years in Alhambra, I worked myself up to deputy city manager, assistant city manager, and then I had the opportunity to kind of rotate through a number of departments. I created the administrative services department, and that was kind of a catch-all department. If there was a stray project, that's where it ended up, and so I got to do a whole lot of different things there. Fee studies, and I had a city clerk working for me. I did a Chevron project where they came in and they did energy efficiency upgrades to our facilities, and so it really was, if somebody didn't have time to do a project, Tara did it. So that was a great learning ground as well. And I went from there to development services department. I worked there for about 3 or 4 years, and handled all the economic development, all of their building and planning and housing services. That was what I call that my happy place, because I had so much fun there. There's so much to do. The city was changing a lot. There were a lot of projects in the pipeline, and getting to work with all different kinds of people, all different sized projects, from people who just needed to remodel their kitchen to whole new development. So it was really fun, and I had a really good time. And then I came here, and this really is my dream job. When you get into some industry, you're like, ooh, I really want to work for that place. And this was always the place that I wanted to work. I'm not just saying that. I applied 3 times in order to become a Claremont employee. And so I applied slightly fresh out of college. And then I applied later, and I was talking with Tony, and I think I applied when he got the assistant city manager job. And I was in Alhambra at the time. And then, of course, I've known Tony my entire career, and he was the boss for my first boss, Sean. Sean was his intern. So the training kind of trickles down, I'm sure. But he was very encouraging and supportive, and here I am. So I'm really excited about being here. This city is, besides the fact that I think it's perfect, it's really a great community, not just in the sense of the city itself, but in the feeling that it has. And I really, I enjoyed my time in Alhambra very much, but I really missed that about Sierra Madre, and Claremont has that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come here so much, because I love that feeling. I love the involvement that you all have in making things happen in a small town. And I know Claremont's still a good size, but in a small town, you have to have that involvement to make things happen, to make the programs happen, to make the events happen, because there's just not enough people to get it all done. And I have to tell you that I haven't met a staff person here so far that didn't have that positive energy. It feels so great to meet these people that now I get to work with. They're all excited about what they do. They're all energized about what they do. And I had a lot of fun yesterday meeting them, going around, meeting the different people in different departments, finding out what they're doing, what they're working on, how long they've been here. And it feels really good. And I said this to Colin earlier today, and to Ed, when I met with him, but, and I told Colin, it's not his Britney Spears version, but working there has that good positive feeling, like, because I watched the old version of Mickey Mouse Club. It has that feeling because they're like, hi, I'm Joe and I do this, and it's like, and I'm Annette and I'm Bobby and I'm Cheryl, and it has that great feeling that you had, that positive energy, that kind of Disney-esque feel about it, and I'm really excited to be part of it and to be part of you guys. I also was really impressed by and really intrigued by how progressive this city is. The things that you guys do, that the staff does, they're very creative. You guys are very creative. And that's not normal in most cities. It makes you really unique and special. And another reason why I'm excited about being here. I had a pretty crazy, wild, exciting ride for the last 2 weeks, and I know that's going to continue. But I've been so nicely welcomed by everybody. It's been a constant one meeting after the next, trying to meet everybody, because there's a lot of people that are very involved here, and so I'm trying to get to know everybody. And I've had just back-to-back meetings. I got my first council meeting out of the way, which I know was a bit of an anomaly, and that it was really short, but it was a very light agenda. I know that the future ones are not going to be that way, but I've had the opportunity to have my welcome, which I met some of you at on Monday, and I had my husband there. I think my husband is more excited about my job than I am, actually. He was, every time I got home or printed out anything when I was studying for my interviews, it would disappear. And I was like, where is that? Oh, I left that in my office. I'm like, what are you doing with myself? Because I'm like, I need the job. But he's very excited about being here. I think he knows more about Claremont than I do now. But I've had the opportunity to meet with business people, with the superintendent of schools, with community members. I met with a couple of the college representatives. I still have more meetings to go. I'm sure I will meet you folks as well and get to know you, and I'm looking forward to that. I went to the chamber breakfast, and I don't know if you saw the live Facebook post, but I got to be part of the wave. They did the wave at the chamber breakfast, which was fun and totally different. I've never been to a chamber breakfast that did the wave before. I am slowly touring city facilities in between meetings. Colin has run me out to a couple different places that I need to be aware of, and catching up on projects and things like that are going on. My very first night, as I mentioned earlier, I've been involved in a couple of different emergency situations, and city emergency situations. And my first night, I joke, by the way, that every time I'm left in church, something happens. So my first day, I had a call at about after 10 o'clock at night about the water shortage. And then we had this Monday, we had the electrical outage that it was scheduled, but it wasn't coming back on when they said. Colin promised that they're saving the locusts for next week. So I'm sure to have something every week. but you just deal with them. You just you make the phone calls that you need, and you try to find out what's going on, and you keep people in the loop as best as possible. And that's what we tried to do. And so I was on the phone a lot with Golden State, trying to get information, trying to find out what was going on, when things were going to clear up, how I could help them get information out, making sure that people were getting their water. So you just work the problem and try to get it resolved as quickly as possible. And that's my experience with any of them. If you have extra time, I'll tell you about all of them because I've had quite a slew of them, all of them different. But I did want to talk to you about a couple of the things that are coming up, and because I'm new and fresh to this whole thing, please forgive me because I've made some notes and I might read some of them. But the first thing that's coming up for me is the budget. And I know the staff's already started that process, but we have budget workshops coming up, and the first one happens to be March 1st. It's at Blaisdell, and then March 5th at Alexander Hughes Community Center. If you want to come on the 1st, it's my birthday, so we can celebrate together. But then if you can't make either one of them, please know that you can find that information on the website. We're going to be putting up the presentation that we're doing. And there's also going to be an online survey, so you guys can always participate. It is really important that we receive your input and that we include the community in the budget process, because it is the programs that we put on for you. The next thing that is really, really important, and we're still in the process of getting it through the steps to make it onto the ballot, but the council has approved a ballot measure to go on the June ballot for a general obligation bond to fund the police department. I don't know if you've been to the police department. They do tours so you can see the facility, but if you haven't, I highly encourage you to do it. I have been to the police department, and you don't need to do more than just walk in to know that facility needs to be replaced. It's in a world of hurt. It doesn't meet the seismic requirements anymore. It's been looked at by a structural engineer, so it's not something that can be refurbished and enhanced and built upon. It really needs to be replaced. And the only way to do that is to look at a funding option, and that's why the council decided to move forward with putting that bond on the ballot. So we're getting that lined up, and generally just impress upon you that the employees not only need tools, but they need facilities to do their job in, and that is hugely, hugely important. So please look for that, and if you want to come visit the police department, please do so. I think all of you know about the Gold Line in the Metrolink station and the efforts to get or to keep the Metrolink station and to get that Gold Line built and out here. One of the things that I saw when I was studying for my interviews was a video from the groundbreaking in Glendora. In Citrus College, that's right. That video has, I think it's like 4 people that when they were asked, what are you most excited about with Gold Line? And they all said, getting to Claremont. So, I mean, they only interviewed maybe, I don't know, like 10 people. But that really says something to know that this is a destination, that this place is special and people want to come here. So that is a huge accomplishment. And they've done some preliminary work already. They've will be doing some work soon to relocate utilities. They're conducting pre-construction activities, and they're hiring a design-build contractor. I know they were narrowing down the search just recently, and substantial construction for that should start in 2019 sometime.
Probably
later.
Probably
A little bit later than that. So But they're hoping for substantial completion, which means it won't be totally complete, but by 2026, which I'm hoping a little bit faster so I can commute, because I live very close to a GO-LITE station, and that would be perfect for me. The metro station obviously was a battle that you guys fought, and that was so impressive. I have never heard of a city that has 400 people coming out to tell Metro in particular how important this is, that they keep their metro station, that it was part of the community, that it was necessary to the community, and that was an amazing accomplishment, and I give kudos to all of you for participating in that. And then to follow it up by going to the meeting, there was 70 people that attended the Metro meeting to make sure that decision was made in our favor. So that's really important. I don't know how many of you participated in the design of the bridge, but that's going to be part of it. It was decided that it has to be an elevated bridge over Indian Hill, so I know that was a community effort, and there's still some parts of it that will still be going through the community, so we should be looking for that. I look at Colin because Colin is the expert on Gold Mine and the Metro Link station. So I want to make sure I'm getting all my facts out there. Okay, good. Something you'll probably see late summer, early fall is the beginning of the Foothill Improvement Project. We're about to go out to bid for that project. I know that project was a long time coming in both getting the street given to the city as well as getting the money for it, and then the community involvement in the design of what that project's going to look like. So that's going to be very exciting when it is done. Obviously an inconvenience while it's happening, but well worth it. The original funding for it was only $5 million, but the estimated cost for the project is around $14–15 million, and all the funds have been identified. So when we go out to bid, we're hoping that we have all the ducks in a row and that the bids will come in within the funding that has been identified. But that's a 12-month construction process, so we will keep you in the loop as to where they're at, how it's going. You can find all that information on the website as soon as it starts. And lastly, there's an upcoming election change. Previously, the elections for Claremont were not held with the regular elections, either June or November, but that's been changed, and so starting this year, the elections will be in November, and will be every other year after that. So those are run by the county clerk's office. So you'll see all the options for not just the city council, but also for the school board. They'll be also on there. So, do you guys have any questions for me? Anything you want to know?
Hey, Tara, thank you for coming today. A quick comment that, Active Claremont is supposed to increase community communications with our city government, and typically city people are very intimidating and people don't want to approach them. And I find that you're so bubbly and charming and that it's so easy to approach you. Hopefully I'm not setting you up for...
I'm never scary. I know some people have been kind of standoffish, but honestly, I'm pretty easygoing. I'm a jeans and t-shirt with ponytail kind of girl, so you can talk to me about anything, anytime, anywhere. I wear this because it's work.
Awesome. And maybe just real quick for members who may not know, what is it that a city manager does?
Well, a city manager, the boring answer is we run the city for the city council. But the real answer is it's like air traffic control. So there's a lot of things going on in a city. a lot of different departments, projects, programs, and we manage all of those things. I don't know how familiar you are with air traffic control, but my brother-in-law is an air traffic controller, and I got to see air traffic control in action, and I didn't even realize there's all these different levels of airspace, and running a city is like that. There's all these different levels of airspace. There's the community, there's the department, there's the projects, there's programs, and managing all of that so that everything gets where it needs to go, lands safely. That's what a city manager does.
I'll ask you a question while she's taking Michael. Tara, you've been here a couple of weeks and you've been around town with Cullen and checking things out. When you first found out that you got the job, your first idea or thought, what is your biggest challenge here in Claremont? Before you walked around and drove around with Cullen, what do you think your biggest challenge was coming to Claremont?
You know, I can tell you my first reaction was I squealed like a little kid at Christmas. But I think, you know, my biggest personal challenge is getting to know everybody, getting involved, and then managing that time for myself. That knowing that it was a volunteer community, that I think was the thing that I was going to face most. And I had long conversations with my husband about it, about the involvement of the community, about the expectation of me being here, because that's important. And I knew that that was something that I needed to give of myself during the time that I'm here. So that I think that was the biggest thing that I needed to overcome. The rest of it, I know all the technical stuff is, you know, there's a lot of stuff that happens and projects and things that have to be dealt with, but that's just kind of the routine thing that you just deal with as a city manager, and actually as an assistant city manager, which I've been for a long time. So I think it's just making sure I have that ability to commit. Yeah.
I guess I wanted to just welcome you here. I'm so glad you're here. And I love your comparison to Sierra Madre, because I think we are a similar kind of community. I don't know a lot about it, but I get the sense that we are. And I thought that was that's very astute of you. I also wanted to give a compliment to your assistant city manager. I think Colin will be a great help to you.
He's been amazing.
He's got a lot of integrity, and I think we'll all appreciate that he's there to help. And, but that's all I wanted to say, but welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate that he's here to help me too. He's been amazing. Yeah.
Good evening. Tara, welcome, and thank you for coming to answer questions and introduce yourself. I hate to do this, but it's weighing on a lot of people's minds, and it's kind of for me, it's the thing that even when other things are happening, you can't avoid it, and that is, of course, this unfortunate situation why we're having a vigil tonight, and this shooting that happened, and there have been so many already in 2018. I would hate to think that when we look at a problem like this, that we just suppose that it's another level of government's issue to handle. Obviously, some of the problems that are entwined in this issue are not in our subject matter jurisdiction. But considering that all of us who either have children who go to school or have elderly relatives who go to public facilities like senior centers, what do you think we should be looking at as some way to try to confront this problem head on, as opposed to just wait and find out that it happened locally or nearby us? Do you think there's a local solution to some of these issues? Maybe there are things that we can do to be better prepared or more actively preventive on these topics. Obviously, I know this isn't something that is in the city manager's job description to respond to, but I just want to hear your thoughts on it if you have any.
So situations like that, unfortunately, they cross a lot of boundaries for a lot of different agencies. In order, unfortunately, to respond after that's happened or while it's happening, it does take a lot of coordination between a lot of different agencies. You've got police, you've got fire, you've got paramedics, you've got the hospitals. There's a lot of agency effort that goes into that. And what's really important, and honestly, I don't know how you predict it. I don't know how you prepare for it. I've done active shooter training. It's eye-opening. The things that you learn, the times that you have to respond to things, to hide from things. The police department that I did the active shooter with was very involved in the schools. So they, and I haven't gotten to that point here yet so that I know what we do with the schools, but to be prepared and know how to react to that, I think is the part that everybody needs to play. And you have to find that resource. I just had that conversation with my mother. She's an attorney and she works as a member of the bar association in her community. And so she was asking, how can we do this? This was on my drive home last night. And so I just recommended contact your local law enforcement agency. Find out if they have that active shooter training and if it's available to the community or if they can come and speak to your organization, because it really is something that you need to be prepared for just in case. You never know. You look at the Boston Marathon bombing. You can't predict that kind of thing. And you never know that you're going to go to some event like that where you're watching friends, family, whatever, run past you and something's going to be right next to you that's going to blow up and destroy lives. So I think being prepared and knowing how to react, how to respond to that is what we can do for ourselves. I'm not an expert to know what to look for or anything like that, but we're being prepared for ourselves. And it is a really tragic, unfortunate situation that they're dealing with.
The colleges are an important part of Claremont community, and I'm wondering how you foresee interacting with them. Have you met the presidents yet of the various colleges or students? Or I'm just a little curious about town-gown relationships and your attitude towards them.
So I haven't met the presidents of the Claremont colleges yet. I did meet, I'm going to say his last name wrong, Steve Landskog. I did meet with him, who kind of represents those colleges on their behalf. It is my plan to get around and meet all of them, and it is one of the things that the council's talked to me about, to work on those relationships. I think all members of the community play an important role, and as a collective or as individual colleges, they play a role in the community, and I think it's important that the city has a relationship so that we can communicate back and forth on whatever the issue might be, but just to have that. So I know that it's important, and it's something that I plan on working on.
Hello, I'd just like to say that I think the city's made a lot of progress in recent years in communicating with its citizens, and it's been terrific. So, for instance, the city manager weekly letter that lets people know what's going on. The fact that now, if there's a commission or council meeting, you can click on the agenda, you can actually read the staff reports. I'd love to see that expanded to commission and not just the city council. But this is wonderful because then you have educated people coming to offer their opinions rather than not knowing the background of some of these things. So I guess my question is, what kind of communication are you used to and how do you see this in the future?
I have to tell you honestly that Claremont communicates far more than what I'm used to. And that was one of my projects that I was actually working on when I was in Alhambra, was enhancing those communication outlets. But yeah, what I'm used to, this is a lot more. I know how important communication is. An example would be the Golden State water shortage. That was hugely important. I was trying to pull as much information as I possibly could so that we could share that to make sure that that message was getting out, because we were receiving phone calls. Even though we didn't have any control over that particular situation, phone calls were coming to City Hall. So my staff and I were working furiously trying to get as much information out there as we could, where to go get water, when the water was going to come back on, when the boil notice was coming out, when the boil notice might be ending, all of those things. So I know how important communication is, and being new, I love what we're doing, and we definitely need to continue that. And if we find other avenues or ways to do that, I think we should explore those too.
Sarah, if I can just add to that real quick, just Jim, to your comment about commissions, we are slowly putting the commissions online too, so that there is video available for. I think we've got 2 commissions that are up now that are doing that in their meetings, and then most of the rest will fall in the next couple of months. So over the next few months, you'll be able to watch those meetings online as well.
And unfortunately, I did not hear what Colin just said. I'm sorry.
Oh, just that the commission.
Can you get it on the microphone? Because I think the video can't hear it either.
Sorry, just that the commission meetings are also being moved on to the Granicus system that the city council meetings are, where you can stream them live online or go back and look at archives, as well as pull up agendas while you're watching them. So if folks are interested in what's happening in commission meetings but can't make them, rather than just having to rely on the minutes, now you do have those other options. We're phasing that in to make sure that it all goes right, so we're kind of doing one commission at a time. So I think we have either 2 or 3 live right now, and the others are following shortly behind.
Given that you're in favor of communication, and so social media is such a huge aspect, and I know just maybe a little bit about social media, would you be in favor of the newsletter being partially yourself being on live Facebook or any of those avenues? Many of the police forces in our area, Azusa, Laverne, they're doing Facebook Live for different things, which is very, it's very attractive. It's very on the spot, and they're able to share whatever the emergency might be or the thing of question. So just to do a newsletter, just a portion of it, doesn't have to be the whole thing. Would you be in favor of that to open up further communication to kind of give that opportunity? I'm Susan Bernasso, by the way. And this is my husband, Mike Bernasso.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm not a social media person, so Facebook is actually new to me. So my first time on Facebook Live was doing the wave at breakfast the other morning. Nice. So I would say yes, but I don't, since I don't fully understand, I do have staff that does. So we do try to get things out. I know that they were putting information on the water outage out. So I know that there are capabilities out there. I'm just not familiar with them. So as we get more familiar with them, then definitely I can look at ways of other ways of communicating information.
Our Facebook city page is just fairly new as of 3-4 months ago. Am I correct?
About that, a little bit longer.
Okay, so it is actually fairly new to the city as well, which a lot of people have at least shared with myself how happy they are that they have that avenue. And many people are hoping that the police will also have that same avenue, as many other police forces around us do have that.
Yes.
And it is quite the quite the tool.
Yeah, it is a great tool to get information out. Yes.
Thank you.
Chair, if I may.
I don't want to see her get totally thrown under the bus on this one, because I should mention that some of that comes from policy decisions. And to the question that was posed to her about what the role is of a city manager versus the city council are the ones who set the policy for where we go with social media, with regards to providing information to the public, what means we're using to do that. I think by and large it has been identified tonight that the council over the years has done some great things to assure that our citizens are aware. But I will tell you that when we've had discussions on social media, there isn't necessarily a unified feeling about social media on the council, and I'm not going to speak to who believes what. You can look that up for yourself. But at the same time, whatever social media issues, however we go with social media, is something that's going to have also support of council. And I will say that what we have done so far has been supported by council. So the latest information that you've seen has gone through council and has been approved. So I do want to add that to the answer.
Thank you, Gordon.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
And again, I want to thank you for coming and giving your presentation, introducing yourself to the community, and on behalf of Active Claremont, what we can afford. We'd like to give you a token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
And in the vein of the social media, just so that everybody knows, we in Active Claremont have just started getting on social media. So again, if the community is more involved with communication, then it's less pressure on our city manager, on our city council to do that, because part of the reason this organization exists is to increase communication between the government and the people. And this is a phenomenal city. I mean, even though you have a variety of political views, of interests, of ages, you've got such a variety here, and yet people are so enthusiastic about this community that, we share about our food, we share about everything. Social media, just a quick response to Jed's comment about what can we do as a city when it comes to emergency response and very serious issues like this. I'm also active shooter certified, but the way I see it is rely less on the government. The government has enough stuff to do themselves. They're very busy. You don't want to overwhelm the government. They provide the basic for you. And in the end, it's not a bad comment on the police. It's just a reality. It's that when seconds matter, police are minutes away. It takes them time to respond to situations while you're there now. So the more you know personally to respond to things, the less reliant you are on the government, the less of a strain you are on our government, the better our government can function on behalf of people. And hopefully you won't be a casualty, and maybe you can help someone else not be a casualty as well. So that's probably the best thing that you can do. There's self-defense courses here at the Alexander Hughes Center. There's Sustainable Claremont talks about growing things. You've got the Rancho Santa Fe Botanical Gardens that show you how to grow things as well. Golden State Water had a water drum handout. There are multiple things that you can do to make yourself so secure that you become self-reliant. And then when you're in that kind of unpredictable situation, because honestly, I can tell you, we haven't yet had, and I don't want to give people ideas, but I want you to be prepared. We haven't yet had multiple locations of shooter. It's always been one. And I'm telling you, it's coming. You might be at that location, and staying at home doesn't mean you're safe. It might actually be in your neighborhood. So you need to be prepared. That's the reality of today. There are people, we don't know what they're going to do, and the best you can do is know what you can do. So I'm sorry to take that from that bit of time, but I appreciate it. Do we have
We have a great CERT program. There's
Yes.
a CERT program.
Yes, before you came, I actually mentioned that Claremont CERT is looking for members, young people. You can learn a lot from the members that are there. There are ham radio services where you can learn ham radio. When your cell phone goes down, ham radio still functions. And you can, I have a friend who does something called DXing. He actually reached the Olympics with a clear signal on a ham radio handy-talkie. That's amazing, the technology we have today. He talked with someone who was actually at the Olympic ceremonies on a handy-talkie. The capabilities we have today and things we can learn from each other are great, but communication is key. But again, also communication is a double-edged sword. We don't want you taking your phones and going to dangerous places to tell everyone what's going on there, because then you burden the police force as well, because now you become a potential victim. But if you're there, use your phone to dial 911. Tell them the information, and you can probably get a little video out so that the police can then use that information against the person who's committing the crime at that moment. Yes, Sue.
I want to put in a plug for the bond issue. I think that eventually the police are going to have to be there for all of us, and they protect us a lot. And that building could crash in on an earthquake right on our dispatchers, right on our police force. And we have to stop arguing about how we fund it and all the other things. We need to start looking at the fact that we could lose our police force, at least those people who are there, including our dispatchers. They're right in that building. And I guess structurally, won't work in an earthquake like the Northridge earthquake. We could even have a worse earthquake. And if it falls down on those people, they're not going to be alive to help us. So that's my plug for the bond issue.
Absolutely, and that was a very important. We had Chief Vanderveen here giving a presentation on that back in December before I became president, and that was the first time I sat down in these chairs and realized I need to become active in Claremont. I need to be more involved with my community, and this is the beauty of. See, we have our representatives are here for you. Come here and be there for them as well. Share your concerns. Become part of Active Claremont. That's what the Active and Active Claremont is all about, being active. So we would love to have you come, join us. We have great forums. I see this as the TED Talks of Claremont, where you can learn a lot of things. We have excellent presenters, and a lot of people are missing out on them. And social media is now our new platform, so we are starting to use that so that we can get to more people. But it's better if you're here to ask questions so you can learn more. So again, thank you, Sarah, for your presentation. Welcome you. And with that, we adjourn our meeting. I thank you everyone for attending, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Again, we have trash pickup on Saturday at St. Luke's on Indian Hill and Baseline.